how many have got 3 kids or more? How many who in the room is also a glutton for punishment? Poor souls! Elliot just called me on his way to the stairs. Which you're coming on to start the afternoon, and it goes, James, grabs my hand, pulls me in. He goes, this better be good. I thought, this is the first night we've had kid-free in 6 years. Okay, no pressure, Elliot. So there you go. I'm not going to go where I was going to go. So, 2013, I had my eldest, Matthew James Berg, and doesn't life change when you have that first one? Who were the parents again? Doesn't life change when you have the first one? It changes dramatically, doesn't it? Now, this coincides with me starting personal development, which is a gift and a curse, isn't it? Because you make all the mistakes on the first one. I was brand new to personal development, so I was kind of woke up, but I still didn't know what the fuck I was doing, as a dad and in life. So one thing I did have though, remember my mentor at this point was Eric Thomas. So I just had lots of, we'll call it enthusiasm. So I was a very enthusiastic parent. I was also a very enthusiastic partner. My partner, Matthew's mum, is the sweetest, kindest, warmest, most gentle woman on the planet. Now with people like that, they usually don't coincide well with change and with fast pace, and often in life she would have to try and slow me down, right? But I'd just been watching Eric Thomas. So I was like, no, come on, you can do more, you can have more, we can get this life together, come on, go! She's like, what the fuck has happened to this guy? Oh, she wouldn't swear, right? So that's sweet, she wouldn't swear. And there's a golden rule, so I started coaching years later, like 5 or 6 years later. It's the first thing you taught when you go to the training to be a coach. First thing you taught, it's literally the rule book, it's a rule book. And page 1, it's a full page just for this one rule. And the coaches in the room, or the aspiring coaches in the room, want you to write this down, and it's, don't coach your partner. The subheading is, or you'll end up without a partner. That is exactly what happened. A couple of years later, she is off. And I didn't want her to be off, right? I wanted it desperately, and it broke my heart. And it was a very big lesson learned. And sometimes, anyone ever done that, where you've been through some pain, but you don't learn the lesson for about 5 years later? Anyone ever been there? Well, that's what happened to me. At first, I was in blame, excuse, denial. I wasn't willing to listen to anything that anyone said because of all this emotion going on in my head. Because I felt, I was thinking about me. Now, isn't that interesting? How often does that happen where we're not listening because we're emotional, because we're worried about us, we're thinking about us? It can be an absolute killer. So, this happened with me. Now, when I went through this pain, and it's been through a particular rough separation. I know I've been through a rough separation. It's one of the most painful things in life, isn't it? There was only like 6 hands up there. I might not need to do this afternoon. You guys look like you nailed master relationship. Well done. So it absolutely broke my heart. I thought, I am never going through this ever again. So I started studying. This has always been my big thing, right? Whenever I get in a massive amount of pain, since I started personal development, it's like, right, what do I need to learn to make sure this doesn't happen again? Which is a gift, isn't it? That's what happens in the stock market as well. Mike talked about the markets earlier. That's what happens. The reason they crash is because someone's made a mistake. 2008, what was the mistake? 100% mortgages, 105% mortgages, 110% mortgages. Guess what? Caused the crash. And we learned from the mistake. Now the restrictions are much, much stricter. It's way more regulated to go and get a mortgage. That's good news, by the way, not bad. Because that's what happens when we don't restrict them, is we end up in a crash. Same thing happened to me, right? Every single time I've been through something in life, my first instinct, luckily, since I started personal development, is, what do I need to learn? What do I need to change about myself? What do I need to put in here? And that's exactly what happened. Now, when I said there's 2 of our most important areas of life, you probably guessed them now, I've touched on them both there. One of them is our duty as parents. The second one is our duty as a partner. What percentage of people before you came here today, by the way, have studied wealth? Mark just covered wealth brilliantly, didn't he? How many of you had studied wealth before you came here today? Okay, so about 10%. That's a really high number, by the way. That's usually less than 1%. How many of you studied like business or how to grow in your career? You've read some kind of business book, grow in your career or in your company, which is about half the room. That's again an astronomically large number. How many of you have studied how to be a better parent?
Okay.
That's a really high number. What about how to be a better partner?
20.
Even lower. So the 2 most important areas of our life, if I went out and asked Joe Public those questions, we know, don't we, that 58% of people would say, I've never studied any of those areas. The highest percentage would be business and career. And the lowest percentage would be relationships. And so this happens in sales. Where are the salespeople? Where are the people in sales? Where are the sales guys? I can see one without a hand up over there. So if I do this if I do a sales workshop, one of the things that I often do is say, right, all the salespeople stand up, and most of the room will stand up if it's a sales workshop. And I say, right, I want you to stay stood up if you're in the top 10% of salespeople. Guess what percentage of the room stay stood up?
Okay.
100%. Like, yeah, we're all in the top 10%. Now, mathematically, that's impossible, isn't it? Only 10% can be in the top 10%. Everybody can't be in the top 10%. But this is salespeople. How do you think that would differ if I asked, stand up if you're in the top 10% of parents?
Clearly, this.
Now, let me just put this into... We're already getting some clarity, aren't we, that you can't be good at something unless you've studied it. How many of you have ever boxed before? Put on a pair of boxing gloves and boxed before? Competitively. Now, I saw some of you put your hands down that I know have had a competitive fight. Just because it wasn't competitive and you got battered, that's not what I meant. Now, for everybody except for those that have put your hand up, discount this. For everybody else, I boxed professionally, I boxed at a really high level as an amateur. If me and you got in a ring, who'd like to win?
Yeah.
Why?
I know what you do.
I studied and I trained and I educated myself and I practiced it for 15 years. Isn't that interesting? So same thing as a parent, right? If one parent studied, trained, educated themselves and practiced it, who's going to be the better parent? This one. Yeah, almost everybody would stay stood up and go, I'm in the top 10% of parents. Outside of this room, if I said sit down if you've ever read a parenting book, almost everybody would sit down if you've never read one. Yes? So how can we be great parents if we've never studied parenting? And you're going to see that tomorrow, by the way, about how sometimes, remember when I said our intention can be different from the perception? We're going to see that tomorrow, because that's one of the biggest things in parenting. Now, I'm not trying to discredit anybody as a parent, because one thing that I know for sure is if you've got a little one, 99.99% of people on this planet have the best intention. But being a good parent isn't just about intention, is it? And the same thing, even more so in a relationship. But there are some real similarities between the two. There are also some major differences. But this is really important. I want to share with you some learnings that I've had in this area, because I was adamant that I would never go through that pain again. I was absolutely adamant. And I really studied this area. Really studied it. Spent a lot of money on it, did the events, did the seminars, did the workshops, read the books. Less practice on this one. I had less practice on this one, which is probably a good thing when we're looking at relationships. You don't want to practice this with lots of different people, okay? The different things you're going to learn in the next hour. And what I found and what I understood really quickly is relationships change and things change and people change as we go through. Now, especially on the personal development journey, this can be really common that people change and go on this personal development journey and they get upset that the other person's not coming with them. Hopefully by the end of this, that eliminates any of that might happen, because people are just different. That doesn't mean you have to fall out of love with them because they're different from you. So I'm going to show you the 6 keys to a blissful, passionate relationship that feels like you did at the start. Let me try that. Guys, let me try that. I'm going to show you the 6 keys to a blissful, passionate relationship that feels like it did at the start. Okay, so this does come with a little bit of a disclaimer. So I'm going to refer to masculine and feminine energy. This is really important that we understand this, because everybody has both. First and foremost, everybody has both. So I'm not specifically saying men or women. If I do say men or women, please understand everybody has both. And I'm just using it for ease, and it's easier for me to say men versus masculine energy. Make sense? Second thing is, we want to find a good balance. And the third thing is, there is a difference between positive masculine energy and destructive masculine energy. So some forms of masculine energy that you might see that are really positive is confidence and strength. Some forms of masculine energy that you might see that are destructive is anger. Now, I spent a long time there in destructive masculine energy centered around anger. And I was just angry at everything and everyone. And I always found a way back to anger. The same thing is true with feminine energy. There's destructive and there's powerful and positive feminine energy as well. Now, these are really important, and there is one key principle that runs straight through mastering a relationship. Hopefully you get it by the end. I really think you will. And if you don't understand this principle, every relationship you ever have, ever again, it's going to have a great deal of pain in it. So this principle is absolutely critical. Even more important than the fact that United are beating City 2 now. So, do you want to know the 3 keys to empowering masculine energy? Yeah. All the guys just erupted. And every girl explains. However, who's this more important for? This is less important for the guys. And that is part of this golden thread that runs through. So, as we move through these, I want you to take notes, I want you to really focus, and I want you to try and understand the principle that I'm saying and not just the tactic. So the 3 keys to masculine energy. This is empowering masculine energy. This is getting us into the positive, not the dark side. And this is relevant for males and females, by the way, because we both share both. So, first one, we're going to look at, like I said, I have an acronym and analogy for everything. First bit is EFH. So you're going to want to write those down, because they are the 3 keys. For feminine energy, the acronym spells something slightly different. There is 0 intention in this, but it does spell sus. It's a little bit suspicious. Now, the key to both feminine and masculine energy is balanced hormones. This is the science that sits behind some of the theory that I'm going to share with you. And I learned this from one of the best in the world. I'm going to show you an image of her a little bit later, actually. She's absolutely incredible. She's teaching this to the WHO, the World Health Organization. She's teaching this as a keynote speaker all over the world. She is phenomenal. And she's going to teach, and I'm going to show you some of the teachers I got for her around balanced hormones. And this is the key. If you want to stay in a positive masculine or positive feminine energy, this is the key. Balancing out your hormones. Now, hormones in masculine energy, what's the main hormone for masculine energy? Testosterone. And for females, feminine energy? Estrogen, estrogen, depending on where you're from. So, depends if you're posh or not, basically. How you say that? Mark says that very different. Mark, can you say it? Can you say it for us?
Estrogen.
There you go, very posh. I didn't even say a C word. So, this is the key. Now, there's a little disclaimer on this that I need you to understand. Women actually have more testosterone than men. But if you, and you can test me out on this, go to your local Hollands and Barrett, and you can get a little test done and take a little prick of your blood. Shouldn't say a little prick when we're talking about relationships, should I go? So take a little prick of your blood, and they'll tell you where your levels are at, or your testosterone or your estrogen. So, what studies show, drastically in the Western world, way more so than the East, is that men don't have anywhere near enough testosterone. And it's the same thing for women. They don't have anywhere near enough estrogen. The balance is out. And when the balance is out, that's when we see people slip over into destructive energies rather than positive. So there's some really easy, natural ways to get these where you want them to get. If you want to increase testosterone, this is for men or women, if you want to increase your testosterone levels, there's some really easy, natural things that you can do. There's some shortcuts you can take. You can take some steroids and get a testosterone boost, but it's not going to help you long term. Probably not going to help you in your relationship either. So some really easy things to increase testosterone. Lifting weights dramatically increases the level of testosterone that you've got. The heavier the weight, the bigger testosterone you boost you get. So there's so many people in the gym, they'll go to the gym and they'll take testosterone steroids to try and work harder, when actually if you just work harder, you've got a natural testosterone boost anyway. So that's a really big one, lifting weights. Being of service. Being of service actually increases testosterone dramatically. So especially with things like, imagine this, you have an opportunity to do both. If you want to just go and lift something heavy for somebody else, that's massively going to increase your testosterone because it's doing both. Looking after people, especially if it's in a physical nature, massively increases your testosterone. When it comes to foods to eat, I'm not here to take part in the carnivore versus vegan debate, which we'll touch on tomorrow, but eating meat, especially steak, will increase your testosterone. Whether you think that's good or bad for you, I am not getting involved in that argument. No way, Jose. But like it or lump it, increases testosterone, whether you want to eat it or not. In terms of estrogen, similar thing, the kind of things that are literally diametrically opposed to that. So if you want to do exercise to increase your estrogen, which by the way, exercise is the elixir of life. If you want to feel better, if you want to feel more vibrant and energetic, exercise is the way to go. So what kind of exercise can you do to increase estrogen? And slow, long cardio. If you want to increase estrogen, slow, long cardio. think of going for a long jog, a long bike ride, that kind of stuff. That drastically increases estrogen. Making an effort, this is for males and females. When you physically make an effort, it lifts your estrogen. It makes you feel good, doesn't it? Sends oxytocin all around your body. Even if you're not in a relationship with someone else, you make an effort physically and it massively increases that as well. In terms of foods that you can eat, lots and lots of green stuff. Anything that's green, basically. Your veg and all that kind of good stuff. Not to say, guys, that you shouldn't be eating veg, because you should. So those things are just some natural remedies that are going to lift your testosterone or your estrogen and put you into the kind of state you want to be in. But the biggest way to get into those states is in your relationship itself, because that's what our hormones are all designed for. So the biggest and quickest way to get into a positive masculine or feminine energy state is in the relationship itself. And that's what these 6 keys are, EFH and SUS. So let's start with masculine energy. The first one, the E stands for emotions and being emotionally open. Now, this is not for the men to be emotionally open. This is if you want someone to have more masculine energy, be more, you take the responsibility to be more emotionally open. Here's why. So I'm going to use men and women just for this one. So let's imagine Mark and his buddies are all stood in the suits, in wealth. When we was in Alma House, or a lot of financial advisors and that kind of stuff, they all had blue jackets. I kept saying to Mark, look, how many blue jackets are here? I was also dressed probably in these same clothes. I've never dressed since, actually. I've never changed since. And Mark's been in his blue jacket now. But imagine if Mark and a bunch of the blue jackets are stood around and one of them walks in and he's clearly got some new shoes on. Guys, what would the guys say to that guy who's clearly got new shoes on? They've got a nice little flick at the bottom.
No, I won't.
That's exactly how guys react, right? What are them shit flickers you're wearing? That's how guys are with each other. It's a case of one-upmanship. That's what happens, that's what guys do. It's how can I look like I've got bigger balls than you? Mike talks about this all the time, a lot of the wealthy associates when you're at these kind of meetings and they're all like, there's all these little games that they play to try and look better than each other. That's one-upmanship. That's destructive masculine energy, by the way, when there is no emotional openness. What do women do in this situation? They do not go, what are them shit clickers, do they? Woman walks in a new dress. Ladies, one of your friends walks in a new dress, she looks lovely. What would you say to her?
You look amazing in that.
Did you notice the difference in energy? You went from wanker to, oh my God, you look incredible. Your butt looks so great. No, your butt looks so great. It's one-downsmanship. It's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. And men really need this emotional openness, or anyone in a high masculine energy state, by the way, because they don't get it anywhere else. Men don't get it from each other. So they need it in their relationship. Does that make sense? So then we've got the F. The F stands for freedom. Freedom. It's hard to say that without sounding like you're in a Braveheart film. Freedom. So if we go back a couple of 100,000 years, as we started to evolve and come out of the caves and get a little bit of consciousness, men had very, very clear jobs. Really, really clear jobs. And by the way, the woman that I just said, who I referenced and said she's an absolute genius in this area, she spends 6 months a year living with indigenous tribes. Here's what indigenous tribes means if you don't know, is people who are living today like we did a couple of 100,000 years ago. There's no machinery, there's no Wi-Fi. I know what Sweden, no Wi-Fi. They don't know what Skull United City is, just like you guys. Like, nothing. They just live from Earth, as Mother Nature intended. And she shares me this all the time. So by the way, whenever I'm with her, people ask me this all the time, like, who'd you learn from? Fucking anybody that I can, especially if they're the best in the world at what I do. So I was with her for 4 hours. It was in this car journey. And it was basically a seminar. It was a 1 versus 1 seminar. I was just picking the brains. And she shared this with me. She was like, still in the indigenous tribes, men have got one job. And it is predominantly the men, unless there's some really strong women, which does happen as well. And she was like, the men's job is, go find the animal, bring it back. That's it. There's no 2 jobs, no 3rd job, there's no 4th job. It's find the animal, bring it back. Now, here's the thing about finding an animal, bringing it back. Animals move. And also, Wales have done the right thing. They give the men one freaking job. Probably where the phrase comes from, isn't it? You had one job.
That's it.
Find the animal, bring it back. So here's the thing, the animal moved. So how much stuff does the man need to remember? Nothing. Nothing. Nothing's changed. Men still don't remember anything. And find the animal, bring it back. The animal moves every single time, so you don't have to remember everything. But also, we might be an hour. We might be 3 days. Elliot, this is not an excuse for you to go missing for 3 days. Things can change. So, find the animal, bring it back. How long is it going to take? Don't know. That's why we need the freedom. If it was like this, right, okay, find the animal, bring it back, but it's 8 minutes to 5, you've got till 5:30. Probably going to come back empty-handed. So there's a natural level of freedom. Like I said, the world's evolved, things have changed. Can't go missing for 3 days. But that freedom is really important. Now, there's a great book on this called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. Anyone read this book?
Yeah.
So almost everyone who put their hand up earlier and said I've studied relationships are the same people who've read that book. Because it is the book on this kind of stuff. It's brilliant. Go read it. And the author talks about men are from Mars, so they're Martians, right? And what do these little Martians do? And what do they need every single day? They need to go off to their caves. And they need to rebuild their energy. They've spent their energy tokens. And they find that on their own. They need that little bit of space just to recoup and gather the thoughts from the day. Does that make sense? So there's a big need for this freedom. Now that is very, very different when we go over to the Venetians. Okay, very, very different, which I'll touch on shortly. So freedom is the second one. The third thing for empowering masculine energy is to feel like the hero. This is probably the most important. This might be the most important thing that I say over these 2 days. Have to feel like the hero. So, guy goes off, finds the animal group of guys, they walk back to the village, guess what happens? There's a celebration. There's a celebration for these brave warriors that have found the animal and brought it back. If those brave warriors brought the animal back, and everybody in the village, kids, women, grandparents, looked at the animal and oh, I thought it'd be bigger. Some of you got that, some of you are still thinking, are you? Some of you are still taking your time with it. Oh my God, they'd be crushed. And this is one of the biggest things that we see kill relationships, criticism. And when you link that with this one-upmanship, men are doing this one-upmanship game with each other, and then they go home and there's more criticism, so they're not the hero anywhere. Massively linked to the high rate of suicide in men. Massively linked. Understand this, write this one down. Criticism will cost you everything. By the way, this is both parties. Male and female, whether you're in a male and female relationship, male and male or female and female, it's the same fucking thing. Because we've all got some masculine energy, yes? And it gets destroyed and it turns to destructive energy with criticism. Does that make sense? So please don't think I'm talking strictly about men and women here, because I'm not. We will all move to destructive masculine energy under criticism. It's an absolute killer, and it is completely unnecessary. Next time you're just about to criticise things, do I really need to say that? Just stop yourself, because criticism will cost you everything. Now, early on, how many of you can remember being early on in a relationship? How many of you can remember that far back? So early on in the relationship, this is a really typical trait. We'll see someone with high feminine energy do the test. How many of you know what I'm talking about when I say the test? I can see Denisha smiling. She's like, yeah, I know what that test is. Here's the test. Person with masculine energy texts over, saying, hey, what have you been up to today? What's the person with high feminine energy doing? What's the test, Denisa? Don't text back for 3 days. That's the test. Now, when you combine these two things, and there's a big reason that happens, by the way, big reason that I'm going to cover when we get to three keys to empowering feminine energy. There's a big reason that happens. The problem is, Mother Nature screwed us a little bit here. The problem is, the big reason that happens, I get it, but also what it causes over here, when high masculine energy gets that test, and it's like, I've not been spoken to for 3 days, what do they feel?
Rejected.
Feel rejected. That's the exact opposite of feeling like a hero, isn't it? Those tests will literally cost you everything. So will criticism. So write this down. Life will test us enough. We don't need to test each other. Life will test us enough. Same thing, by the way, that happens in male and female relationships, male and female and female. Forget the tests. I get why they're important. You'll have more clarity on that in a few minutes, but you have to forget the tests. You have to leave them in the bin and go from somewhere else instead, which hopefully, like I said, it's the golden thread, you'll get it by the end. You have to bin the tests. They do happen more often at the beginning of a relationship because of the reason for the test, but either way, you still got to bin them. Fair enough? You all promise me you're going to bin the tests. Bin the tests, bin the criticism. Okay? And that includes the STI test. If you've got to do the STI test, there's also another problem in the relationship.
Yeah.
So there we go. They're the 3 keys.
Great.
Are you ready for the 3 keys to empowering feminine energy?
Yes, I am.
Very good. That was great to hear some of the guys actually lifting up on that one. So the S, the first S, funnily enough, this is linked to the tests. Safe. Guys, where are the guys with high masculine energy? Just throw your hands up if you're high masculine energy, especially like high D on the disc profile. All the guys right here. Okay, so for you guys, just put your hand up. How many times in the last month have you thought, shit, I'm going to die?
Yeah, it is happen.
Never, right? And Mark's been in the car with me this morning as well. So that's been interesting.
And that.
Interesting. High feminine energy. Who's got really high feminine energy? Where are the high feminine energy ladies at? We've got none. We've got literally 0. Throw your hand in the air for high feminine energy. It's probably quite a high feminine energy trait to do. Throw your hands in the air. Okay, ladies. When was the last time, how many times in the last 2 months did you think, shit, I'm going to die? Don't have to tell you everything, yes? There is a big difference between how often someone in high masculine energy and feminine energy feels, shit, I'm going to die. Guys, you're walking along the street and someone's walking behind you. Do you even notice? No. Because what's going on in that guy's head? Wonder what Cabana are. Ladies, you're walking along the dark street, especially in Liverpool. You're walking along, John's going to fucking kill me, you're walking along and I'm United, winning what's going on today? You're walking along the one, very good. Shouldn't be checking your phone now. You're walking along the dark street, someone's walking behind you. Ladies, would you notice?
Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
I'd like them to cross the road, please.
Yeah, me too, actually. Yeah.
Right, isn't it?
So there's a big difference in physical safety. Next up, financial safety. Women, generally speaking, we're in high feminine energy, we're worrying more about money than men will in high masculine energy. It's really important. Why? Because that money's going to feed my kids, it's going to look after the whole family. See, money, generally have different relationships with money, but most importantly, far more important than any of that, this is the most important thing out of the 3. In fact, Elliot, I would say, this is the most important thing we're going to cover over these 2 days. Emotionally safe. Emotionally safe. Those first 2 get trumped massively if we don't feel emotionally safe. If we feel like this relationship's about to end, what is the dominant thought that we can't stop thinking about all day, every day? The fact that this relationship's going to end. There's an emotional safety that trumps everything else. That's why the tests exist. Because, and by the way, if I can manipulate you, and you're easy to manipulate, other women can manipulate you as well.
It's us.
That's why the tests are there. How much do you want to keep coming back? That's why the tests are there. So I get it. But the tests are also cancerous on the other side. So you've got to be mindful of that both ways. Masculine energy, then what do you need to do to make sure we're in empowering energy is not give any reasons for anybody to feel unsafe. Also works the other way. See masculine energy doing their little thing and taking pictures with someone who's attractive or whatever else, like, you're just fucking the whole relationship up. So the U stands for understood. This is what we don't do. We don't go, okay, how do you want me to fix the problem? Put the toolbox away. So imagine expressing all that and then going, right, someone was rude enough to go, what's the point of the story and how can I help? Can you imagine that? That's exactly what I did. Mark's shaking his head like, no bastard would do that. I've just told you, I just did it. That's exactly what I did. I continue to do over and over. I did this with my mum once. She's rabbiting on. She's like, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, Mum, what's the point of this story? You know what she said? They found a shadow in my lungs, I could have cancer. Fucking hell, if the earth could have swallowed me up.
Good for you.
So just sit on your hands and just enjoy the feminine energy state. You don't need to find a solution. Now, again, if we travel back a couple of 100,000 years, men had one job. Find the animal, bring the animal back. Women did not have one job. Still to this day in the indigenous tribes, it's exactly the same. Women did not have one job. They had lots of jobs. Look after everything, cultivate everything, look after the kids, look after the grandparents, find the berries, bring the berries back. They had all these, make the food. They had all these different jobs, right? Now, big difference, isn't it? Find the animal, kill the animal, bring it back. As long as the animal's dead, when you bring it back, everyone's safe. If you get a lion and you bring it back alive, we're all in trouble. Well, the berry's very different. So it really mattered that you've got the right berries. Because those berries there on the left, they're safe. In fact, not only are they safe, they're full of good nutrients for your body. But those berries on the right, they're poisonous, they kill us all. Therefore, right, you remember everything. So I went out, I went to find the berries, I went east, and when I went east, there was a fork in the road, left or right, I had to go left. So I went left and I walked past these beautiful lilies over there. I walked past the lilies and I got to the berries, and I got to the berries, and the ones on the left, they're nutritious, they're beautiful. Ones on the right kill us all. So, got to get the ones on the left. Get the ones on the left, go back. Remember the lilies, remember the fork in the road. I went east, great. Now what do I have to do? I've got to tell everyone about it, because I've got to keep everybody else safe. Can't keep that information to myself, because if I die, there's a chance that everybody else dies. Whereas with the animal, if you die, well, you die. So you had to remember this information, come back and share it, right? That's where this nature to overexpress and overcommunicate comes from. By the way, as well, high feminine energy, people in high feminine energy communicate through problems. High masculine energy don't do this. It's, if I come up to you and I go, right, Gav, got this problem, here's the problem, bish, bash, bosh. Gav goes, do this, this and this and it's fixed. I go, nice one, Gav, see you later.
I can feel it.
Women express and communicate through problems. It doesn't need solving. So here's the big thing for high masculine energy to empower high feminine energy is just be there. I am pretty convinced 99% of the time when our Nat would go into these rants, I shouldn't call them rants, I really do appreciate it, honestly. In fact, it's a beautiful state. But she would go into this state, and most of the time I'm pretty much convinced that she didn't understand how she was feeling. She was over-communicating to try and make sense of, oh, what am I feeling, what am I thinking? So it's not my job to go and impose, it's just let it unfold. Does that make sense? Now also, you've got to understand, men and women, masculine and feminine energy will often communicate in different ways. So, Gav, if we'd gone to a party, you'd just been to the party and I was like, hey Gav, how's the party? You'd say,
Good. That's what
now ladies, if one of your girlfriends went out to a party, you knew it was a big party. You knew Janice was going to be there, the bitch in the office. And your mate went to the party, and you said, oh, tell me all about it. Tell me about the party. And she went, it was good. What would you think?
Is it that?
Oh, something's wrong. I don't trust you now. Something's up. What have you been doing with Janice, you dodgy bitch? Massively different, right? Instead, you would expect, well, bloody Janice, I'll tell you what, Janice is supposed to be with Roger. She was all over Peter, and you wanted to see what she was wearing. She was wearing a skirt, just about covered everything, I tell you. Boots all the way up to her heels. I don't know what she was trying to get that night. We expect the expression. So, if you're in masculine energy, you can't shut that down. There's a real need there for everybody to feel understood. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, last one. I reckon this is the most important of the three. In fact, Zoe, I reckon this is the most important thing we're going to cover over these 2 days.
Yeah, don't touch.
The third S is seen. How many of you have seen the film or read the book Great Gatsby? Great story. I love a good story. And Jay and Daisy are the main characters in the story. And Jay is madly in love with Daisy, but she's married. And Jay throws these incredible parties. She's very wealthy. He's literally gone and bought a house across the water from Daisy, and he throws these massive parties every weekend in the hopes that one day, it's been years, Daisy will show up. You know what that's called?
She.
Watch it. It's called a grand gesture. What's the opposite of a grand gesture? Feeling invisible. Masculine energy. You walk in the house. You kiss the kids. You kiss the dog. Put your tongue away. And then you walk straight upstairs and go, hi, hon. Walk straight upstairs. Someone's going to feel massively invisible.
If
And it's going to cost everything. Do not make people feel invisible. Do the exact opposite. For masculine and feminine energy, this is really linked to being the hero as well, isn't it? Very, very similar. So next time you don't notice the hair's been done or the nails have been done, that's exactly what this is. That's why it pays attention to pay attention. It pays dividends to pay attention. It makes a massive dividends. So we've got safe, understood, and seen. Hopefully you've got some action points. If you've not written things to do, action points to take, you may as well leave now. Your worship has no hope. There's no hope. But we call this the domino effect. So one of these goes over, they all go over. Imagine this. Guy comes in, he's in high masculine energy. He comes in and he stayed out way too long. He's done what Elliot does and stays out for 3 days.
he can crash, just
Elliot, I keep picking on you, mate. I'm sorry. Just throw that mug at me later on. So he's gone out. He's been out for 3 days. Been out for 3 days. Didn't ring home. Didn't let anybody know. Just been out for 3 days.
yeah.
So naturally, when he finally walks in, is the person in high feminine energy likely to be emotionally open or a bit pissed off and closed?
What?
A bit pissed off and closed, right? Rightfully so.
Loves to be changed.
So now a bit pissed off and closed, and not feeling seen at all. Not feeling seen because you've just been out for 3 days. You didn't even tell me. So feeling completely unseen. So then comes remember I'm emotionally closed, I'm pissed off, so goes down and get short and get ratty and get aggressive. What does the guy think then? He gets ratty. And then as the person in feminine energy is expressing and going, can't you understand, can't you see why? And doing the little report that I would do with the traffic centre. We've been out for 3 days, you didn't message me, you didn't do nothing, I've been here all along, I've been cooking and cleaning, I've not even done anything. You didn't even message me once, I made your tea there, everything's sound at home, and you're out partying and wasting money. Is this person, so bear in mind, come on late, got a pissed off response. How's the person in masculine energy? Bearing in mind they're probably in destructive masculine energy now as well. How do they respond?
Next.
Doesn't listen.
Goes back up.
Yeah, goes back out. Zero understanding. So now 2 things have fell, haven't they? On feminine energy. Number 1, didn't feel seen. You didn't let me know what was going on. And number 2, now I don't feel understood because I'm trying to express to you and you're not listening. But on the other side, that emotional openness that masculine energy needs is gone as well. He's pissed off.
You tell he's got it's gonna go on.
So he's going to go off. So now I'm naturally pissed off, and then you go, right, fine, I'm going to go back out. No, you're fucking not. You go back out, and guess what will happen? Or else. So now the freedom's gone. Oh, now 2 dominoes down each. So then the 3rd domino goes down. Now he goes out anyway. He runs out of the house anyway, even though I strictly said don't go out or else. And how does that person feel in feminine energy who's left at home about the relationship? Safe or unsafe? Massively unsafe. So what happens then, when he does finally get in? Does he get a hero celebration or does he get criticised and complained? Isn't that interesting? All 3 dominoes down on both sides. The good news is, you can lift them just as easily. And this is the key. I'm going to move on to now the golden thread that runs through all of this. This is the most important thing. So most relationships differ at the start than they do at the end. And here's why. So, how many of you can remember the beginning of a relationship, by the way? Think back to the beginning of the last relationship. Now, it doesn't matter who asked this question, whether it's masculine or feminine energy, it doesn't matter. But they asked this question. This is at the beginning of the relationship when everything's new and exciting. And they ask, hey, do you want to cook tonight? You're new in a relationship. How do you respond?
Yeah.
I'd love to cook. I'm going to show you all my skills. Oh my God, I tell you what, I'm going to go to the shop. I'm going to get this nice sauce. I'm going to do this, I'm going to this. Oh, I'm going to prep. You end up with like 7 pans out. You've got everything going on everywhere, thinking you're Gordon Ramsay.
Come at Dolphins.
7 years into the relationship, how would you respond to this question? Hey, do you want to cook? Are you fucking kidding me? I've been at work all day. I've been grafting. I've put the kids to bed twice. I've fed the dog, kissed the dog, and cleaned the dog's poo. And now you want me to cook? What changed? Seriously, what changed?
Commitments.
Here's what happened.
Very good.
So this is the technical term. You're going to have to skip. Sometimes I don't like to use the jargon because jargon can get confusing. But this is jargon in relationship science. What changed is somewhere along the way, he became a selfish fucktard.
So sweet.
Seriously, that is the difference. What is the difference between the start of the relationship, do you want to cook? At the start of the relationship, when the person asked you the question, do you want to cook, who was you thinking about?
No, that God into the.
You was thinking about them. 7 years in, do you want to cook? Fucking hell, everything that I've done today, who are you thinking about? That is the cancer to a relationship. When you spend more time in the relationship worried about you than them, that is the cancer. The amount of times I've done this talk, and we finish it, and I've gone, these are the 6 keys. And the other person has gone, great, can you teach that to my partner, please? So they can meet my needs. Wrong! You got it wrong, you fucked up on literally fell at the first hurdle. I'm not teaching you this stuff so you can go home and go, meet my needs. Why am I teaching you this stuff so you can go home and... Bingo. You got it. That's the difference. That is the difference. That's the biggest difference between most relationships at the start. People do it all the time. Well, we're not like we used to be, are we? No, because you started thinking about you and not about them. Yeah, but they don't think about me either. No, you're not getting it. Pick one domino up and the rest will rise with it. How do you get all your needs met? Me, this. So write this down. Here's exactly how you get your 3 needs met. Me, theirs first. Not half-hearted, not with half an excuse in your pocket, not waiting for them to get it wrong so you can see, James told you this doesn't work, with full commitment and dedication. If you spend all the time in your relationship obsessed with how do I meet your needs, your relationship's going to be a beautiful place. A beautiful place. Answer me this one. Would you love your kids if they pooed on your leg? Would you love your kids if they pooed on your leg?
Yes.
Would you? What about if your kids ate the food you made, never made any back for you, ever? They never put the bins out. Would you still love your kids?
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's a serious one. Would you love your kids if they killed someone?
Yeah.
You know what that's called? Unconditional love.
We'll say.
Why is it different in a relationship? Here's another big cancer in a relationship. What's the opposite of unconditional? Conditions. Here's my conditions. I'll love you if. Write that down and circle it. If you ever catch yourself saying that subconsciously, I want you to go to the toilet, look in the mirror, and bitch slap yourself. That's what kills most relationships. I'll love you if. True or true?
Yeah.
So the golden rule. And if you can get your head around this, I promise you bliss, happiness and passion in your future. A relationship is a place to give. That is the golden rule. No more selfish fucktarderies. So think about this. Where he's criticising, okay, I don't feel like a hero if I'm being criticised. Where he's complaining, don't feel like a hero. Restricting, no more freedom. That's F and H gone. And being cold and harsh, not emotionally open. E, F, H gone. Where's that going to get you? And on the flip side, where it's cheating. There is nothing that will make a relationship feel more unsafe than cheating. Nothing. Ignoring, not making people feel seen, and not listening. Where's that going to get down? Who's currently single, by the way? We're the singletons. Very cool. So for you guys, slightly different stand on there. Here's some advice. So number one, first thing that I want you to do. This is literally the vein of everything that we talked about. I was just talking on the break about cryptocurrency. When I was talking about cryptocurrency with. Start with principles. Right? We've just been talking about principles, haven't we? We love principles around here. The principle is always, what was Kobe's habit? Start with
The end of
the end in mind. So number one, if you're single, start with the end in mind. Decide what you want. Doesn't that make sense? And isn't that the vein that runs through absolutely everything that we've talked about all day? We did success, start with get clear on what you want. We did wealth, get clear on what you want. Everything else that we ever covered, the first step is get clear on what you want. Because Kobe said start with the end in mind. That's a principle, it's timeless, it'll exist everywhere. So everything you ever do, that's the first thing to do, get clear on what you want. Start with the end in mind. Get really clear on what you want now. Really, really clear. That's the first step. Second step, and this is the most important. In fact, this is also for everybody that's in a relationship right now. Because your relationship won't be half the place it could be if you don't follow this step. And this is really important. Love yourself. It's really hard for anyone else to love you if you don't love yourself. Anyone got one of those friends that goes through relationships like hot dinners? They've had like 15 freaking relationships since they've been an adult, and one ends, and within about 2 weeks they're back in another. Anyone got a friend like that? Why do you think that is?
So like Terry.
So, tell you the fact.
Because they don't love themselves. That's what loneliness is. Anyone ever felt lonely in a room full of people? Anyone ever felt like that? Loneliness isn't about how many people you're with. It's about your level of love for yourself. You can be on your own. How many of you have been single at one point in your life and felt completely happy even though you were single and you didn't have anyone? Right? Why? Because probably throughout that period in your life you probably had enough love for yourself that you didn't need it from somebody else. Seriously, if you just ended up single, claim what you want, really love yourself. Wow, now you are set up for a blissful, passionate relationship. Yes or yes? So then the third thing is, when you do get in a relationship, follow all these principles. Remember, a relationship is a place to give, dead easy at first. We lose sight of that 7 years in. So, I want you to do a quick exercise. I want you to make some notes now. I'm going to give you 60 seconds on this. Think about your partner, or if you're single, think about your next partner. What could you do? You do, not they. What could you do to meet their needs right now? Away you go. Spend 60 seconds on that. Okay, so I opened up Master Your Relationship and I said there's a secret thread. I want you to get the secret thread. What is the secret thread?
David, you're studying.
Say again?
You think? See.
Giving. A relationship is a place to give. What's the golden thread that runs through all of it? In fact, it covers everything that we've covered over these next 2 days.
Some.
Start with the end in mind.
That is definitely one of them. It's a timeless principle. I really need you to understand the difference about principles and tactics as well. Tactics are a bunch of things that we can do now to try and get forward. Principles are timeless. They'll be true in 1,000 years because they were true 1,000 ago on. Love it. The biggest thing for you to take away and really hit yourself with is, where have I been being in this relationship a selfish fucktard? Where have I been focusing on myself? And almost every pain and grievance that you've got in a relationship, what is it really? It's a story you're telling yourself about how unfair this is or why this is bad for you. Whenever you're in pain, who are you focused on?
Such it out.
Yourself, in any area of life, that, by the way. If you're ever in pain, you're focused on who?
I think so.
Me. You can't be focused on contributing and giving to someone else and being paid. And even when you go, yeah, but the contribution didn't go how I wanted it to. Yeah, you think who wanted it to? All pain in relationships comes from focusing on you. A relationship is, if you're in a relationship to get out of the relationship. By the way, is it better to give a Christmas gift that someone absolutely loves and adores, or get one? Which do you prefer, give or get?
You did.
Right? And it's the same in a relationship. My favourite part of this is go back to the Great Gatsby stuff. Literally watch that film. It's not a perfect love story by any stretch, but it's those grand gestures. So into a second, I'm just going to get you to build a relationship plan. What are you going to do about it? And I want you thinking about that. Make that part of the plan. What are the grand gestures? Because they're there at the beginning, yes? And not there at the end. Why? Because you started focusing on you. The grand gestures, that's all it is I'm focused on now. So bear that in mind. Okay, we've got a couple of minutes before we go into building the plans. Anyone got any questions that they want to ask on relationship stuff? If you have, just chuck your hand in the end. We've got some mics running about from Jen and Kirsty. Right over in the corner, Kirsty. So remember, whenever you answer the question, stand up, name, where you're from.
It.
I can't actually see because of these lights are bright, so
Hello.
hello. Oh, that was sexy lights, right? That was well timed. Timing is a great skill. Paul from Liverpool. Nice.
So,
I'm going to stop making Scouts jokes now because I'm getting outnumbered.
so I know you said don't criticise. So, if you're in a relationship and you notice your partner is consistently doing something,
Sleep.
I want to say in their life incorrect, and you know you could help them, how do you sort of communicate without them taking it as criticism?
How many of you have felt like that before in the past, by the way, where it's like, no, I know what you're doing is not good for you. What you're doing is going to fuck you up. You've got some great advice to share. So in a relationship, remember what I said when you start coaching? What's the first rule that you get taught as a coach? Yeah, coach everybody else, Paul, honestly. You've got some great knowledge, you've got some great advice, share it with everybody else. Please do not coach your partner, because honestly, it just doesn't work. Because, and here's why it doesn't work. If I went to Gav and went, Gav, I've got this problem with this, and this, and he went, all right, do this, and this, I'd feel loved it. I'd be like, thank you, thanks for helping. When that comes from our partner, and this is just because of a lifetime of conditioning, I go and go, I've got this problem, and they go, well, it's because you're not doing this, and this. I don't see love, do I? What do I see? Criticism. And criticism will kill any relationship, masculine or feminine. So that is the golden rule, is, I know, do you remember what I keep saying? Our intention, I know you've got good intention, Paul, aren't you? When you're giving her that advice, you just want her to be happier, yes? So we've got good intention, but the perception is not good. The perception is criticism. So here's the ultimate one line I can give you for this. And by the way, this goes for anyone else where you've got that kind of sensitive relationship, not just your partner in life. If anyone else has got that relationship with, this can go for your parents, it can be really hard to advise your parents. Here's the write it down. And your siblings as well. Funnily enough, my big thing from my younger years is, I feel unnoticed. So it drove me to achieve. And then the more I achieved, it didn't help, I didn't get noticed, I got alienated. The more I've achieved, the more it's alienated all my family. So, but I can't coach them and go, come on guys, they don't listen to me. If they heard Jim Rohn said the same thing, they'd listen, right? But they hear me because of that proximity and they don't listen. So that's also evidence to not coach your partner. Bring her here, let me coach her. Take her somewhere else, let them coach her. Go take them to a seminar that they're going to get that level of coaching, to tell them the same thing. That's the grand gesture, isn't it? I'll buy you the gift, I'm going to take us out, I'll take you for a meal, take you to the thing. But most importantly, even bigger than that, is to write it down for all of you. Be the change you want to see.
Patience.
Answer the question?
Yes.
Give Paul a massive round of applause. You know what I loved about Paul there? That's that vulnerability. That is not an easy question to ask, is it? And I love that vulnerability, so give him a proper round of applause this time. Paul from Liverpool! Okay, who's next? So I had 3 minutes. Who's next? Who is next? Or we're moving straight on and doing the plans. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Go ahead, we've got Elliot at the front. Elliot, I mean, I've just said your name twice, but tell everyone your name and where you're from.
I'm Elliot, I'm from Harrogate. How do you
Hold on, guys, it is from Harrogate, it's very posh. So, Elliot, say it again.
Harrogate?
Thanks, kid. Thanks, mate. Well done.
Stay green dog. How do you sort of shift your mindset? Do you know if you've had a really busy day or you sort of got some sort of pressure on at work, something like that, and say your sister was telling you a really long-winded story or whatever, how do you sort of shift yourself into that mindset to listen to it?
What I would do to listen to one of those stories one last time. So, if you actually answered this yourself in the first line, just repeat the first line for me. What did you say? How do you
shift your mindset?
What's the answer?
Shift it.
That's it.
So before you walk through the door, there's a great speaker. If you ever get a chance to go and see him, please go and see him. He's hilariously funny. He's called Ian Woodhouse. And he says, imagine every time you go into your house, and you've got your key, and you just back put your key in the door. I don't know why the door's locked. Maybe you live somewhere unsafe. Maybe you live in Wigan. Not going anymore, John. I'm not sure. So you got the key. You just about put it in the front door, and Ian says, just get the key, give it a little waft, and blow the day off it before you walk in that house. If this is the most important area of your life, it deserves that. So this is a good example. We went to a big conference in Liverpool, funnily enough. When was that? April? So last month. And in this conference, so I'm a typical Martian, right? I need my cave every now and then. There's zero science behind this, by the way, but I really like this as an analogy. And the analogy is this. Extroverts get coins from being around people. Where are the extroverts in the room today, by the way? You're not real extroverts, otherwise you would have worked in Holland. Where are the extroverts? Oh, it's three of you, well done. So, extroverts get energy from being around people. Introverts spend energy from being around people. So it's like the introverts are passing the extroverts their energy coins all day. But then when we get that time along, it's like the extroverts, that's more energy consuming, they're passing the coins back to the introverts who are getting the energy from being on their own. So I've been in Liverpool around people all day, every day for like 2 or 3 days. I was spent, absolutely exhausted. I wasn't speaking, I wasn't presenting, but I was spent. I was knackered from being around people non-stop for 3 days. And I was on the drive home, and as well, so this happened, right? So we're leaving the conference, and I'm like minutes away from my cave. Get me in my car, get my Audible on, let me relax. And just as I'm getting to my car, lovely woman called Rachel, I'll talk about her later actually. Rachel goes, oh, could you give me the back to my car? I was like, damn it, delayed for a few more minutes. So I'm like, yeah, go on then. So we're walking back to the car park, and then Emma, who works for my goes, oh, you're not going past the train station, are you? I was like, damn it! So I dropped them both off, then finally in this haven on my own. And you know what I did? Straight away. So this is what I was saying about catching yourself. You've got to have the awareness and know yourself well enough. Straight away I knew I was spent. And I was going to pick my son up. I'd not seen my kids for a bunch of days, so I was really missing. I was going to pick myself and then picking the other two up. I had like an hour drive, and I thought, I've got an hour now. And all I did is sit there for that hour, turned Audible off for a second, and I sat there for an hour and thought about my biggest goal. And it probably took me about 30 seconds to get that energy back. So whatever you've got to do to be able to change energy levels, and how much we've been teaching you that over today already, these things that you can do to change energy levels, Tom's going to give you a great example of that you can do tomorrow. I'm going to give you another one. There's all these things you can do to change your energy levels. You've got to know what change did for you. Some people, it's music, isn't it? We've all got a song that, how much do we use music throughout these things to change how you feel? We use it especially tomorrow. So we use music because it's emotional connection. We'll all have a song that as soon as we hear the song, like boom, we're alive, right? You're ready for a night out. So do whatever you've got to do to change how you feel before you walk in that door. And just make a big effort on it. And do you know what? And then, if still, like sometimes life happens, right? Sometimes you go through things that are really bad. And if that's the case, and you're just in that moment struggling, changing your energy levels, before you walk through that door, just let her know. Just let her know. This is now your turn to open up and go, Zoe, do you know what? I've had the worst day. Do you mind if I just go to my cave for a minute? And I promise I'll do everything I can while I'm up there to make sure when I come back down, I'm where you need me to be tonight, so we can have a great night. Understanding. Feminine energy, way better than you understanding, right? But it's just being open. And, it's like, and having that vulnerability, just like I was just applauding Paul for a minute ago, having that vulnerability to ask a difficult question or say the thing. That's true courage. That answers the question.
Yeah, we did.
Beautiful. Right, okay, so you've got 90 seconds now. Take everything that you've learned. Most people, by the way, check this, you're going to be like, wow. Most people spend longer planning the wedding than they do the marriage. Most people spend longer, not in this room obviously, but most people spend longer planning their holiday than they do their life. Sometimes we've got our priorities the wrong way around. So now it's time to plan. What are you going to do to make your relationship the best relationship it can be? Number one, what do you want? Number two, why do you want it? And number three, how are you going to make it happen? If it doesn't somewhere in your plan say give, start again. You got a couple of minutes. So what you got? Spend 10 minutes sitting down, think about this.
In that.
What are their needs? You've just learned the 3 keys. EFH and SUS, seen, safe and understood, or emotionally open, freedom and hero. There's some basic ones. But what are their individual needs? Because everybody's different.
What's things?
What are their needs? Who's done the love language test? Do the love language test? Really useful to go, okay, so they need loads of cuddles, but I like loads of compliments. Oh, silly me. You do the love language test to find out their needs, and then meet their needs. Most people do the love language test, so you can go, look partner, this is how you should be treating me, and you're not. Wrong way around.
Jesus.
So think about what are their needs. What are their needs in their business or career? What are their needs emotionally? What's their communication style? Some people are super direct and some people waffle on for 3 minutes without making any sense whatsoever. But what's their communication style? What do they need? Because the chances are if they're super direct, they want task, they want action, they want, but if they love to express, they don't want task and action, they want listen. What are their needs? And if you can just spend the rest of your time in that relationship meeting their needs, life is going to be bliss. Life is going to be bliss. Jim Rohn said, how do you attract more? Become more attractive. That doesn't just mean go and make yourself, go and get some fake tan and go to the gym. Is there anything more attractive? Can you imagine that? Is there for the singletons, if you could, where are the singletons again? Just put your hands up for the singletons. So can you imagine being in a relationship with someone and finding someone that was just absolutely dedicated to meeting your needs? Would be anything more attractive than that? No, right? So that's the way to become most attractive. Get relentlessly, incredibly focused on meeting their needs. That's how you win this game. That's how you get everything that you want, is by giving them everything that they want. Make sense? Beautiful. Okay. Biggest learning from relationships. Let's go for 3 of you guys still got the mics. Or they ran off. Biggest learnings on relationships. So, get your hand in the air. Biggest learning on relationships. So I'll pick on someone from each side. Let's go someone from over here first. You still got the mic, yeah?
No.
Oh, you're gonna have to shout. Who are we going first? I'm picking on an introvert in 3, 2, 1. Rianne, what about you? Yeah, stands out.
Sometimes I could be way too much in my masculine energy. So,
Interesting. So what are you going to do about it? What's the plan?
level it out.
Nice. Very cool. In the middle. Go, Kirsty.
Speech. Quite well.
Okay. You find me later. Josh, culture patterns. How many of you have also wrote that down, by the way?
You things.
More of you should write that down. And one from over here. Go, Mike.
Criticizing kills everything.
Criticism kills everything. No good comes from criticism. Go on, go for next one.
I'll be be considerate of how did you
Be considerate of how they feel. Be considerate of their needs. That is the key. And isn't that one of those things where you go, what's he going to tell us about relationships now? If I'd have said, when we do relationships, I was going to tell you to be considerate of their needs and the relationship's a place to give you, but I'm off in mind to give you that. But now you can see it's the answer. It's like it woke up, isn't it? It's like, of course that's the answer. How could it be anything else? I can't have a blissful relationship by focusing on me.
Hey.
Who on earth would want to be in a relationship with that?